cellophane, moonrise, everything transparent, everything lit. It's that 3 a.m. love that you can't quite transmit.
Your silhouette against the curtain, doing something architectural. I'm watching from the mattress like a student of the spectacle of you existing unperformed, unguarded, unedited. The version that you only show in daylight isn't credited. Cellophane, moonrise, the light that shows through everything, including all the careful walls you built for sheltering. And I got the front row, watching you negotiate your mind in the undertow of 3 a.m.'s particular brand of revelation. When everything unfinished demands this conversation, I don't interrupt, I hold the space the way a room does. Let the moonrise light you through the cellophane of what love does. Transparent, now a transparent person. The love that only deepens through immersion. In the unfiltered, the unguarded, and the truth. Cellophane, moonrise, I see all the way through.
Cellophane, moonrise, see you without a frame. Every layer you constructed, lit a name. Cellophane, moonrise, love with full transparency. Nothing hidden, all of it is meant for me.
Like sunrise will reconstruct the architecture of the daytime. You the curated, navigated, professionally stated. You and I would love that version too. I wanna be accountable for knowing both the sunlit and the moonlit. The uncountable facets of your personhood at every angle and recession. Self ain't love is total love, the whole unknitted confession. They say vulnerability is weakness. Every system they constructed to pretend her from the tender as the tender more obstructed. But at 3 a.m. beneath the cellophane illumination, vulnerability is just the oldest form in the canyon.
Cellophane, moonrise, see you without a frame. Every layer you constructed, lit a name. Cellophane, moonrise, love with full transparency. Nothing hidden, all of it is meant for me.
Transparent, luminous, nothing between us. There is a color in the grief no one is named correctly. Ochre, yellow, brown, the sediment of love dissected. I excavated sorrow like an archaeologist of the interior. Found layer upon layer, each one interior to the stratum I expected. I kept digging through the strata of the self I'd been accreting through the drama and the data. At the ochre layer I stopped. This was the original. The grief predating language. Pre-original, subliminal. I've been in the undertow of this particular ochre hue long enough to know that currents teach you something true. You don't swim against the undertow. You angle yourself through, diagonal to the direction that the sorrow pulls you to. Emerge somewhere along the shore you didn't plan for, changed in the specific way the currents always scan for. The undertow is not malicious, it is elemental. The grief is not your punishment, it is monumental. Evidence that something mattered in the magnitude of its rending. Ochre undertow, the color of love's ending. Oh, undertow, yellow brown is grief. The current holds you longer than you need, then grants relief. Oh, undertow, pull me through the sediment of everything I loved and lost. It was all magnificent. I have been so many colors in a spectrum of surviving. Cobalt at the coldest, amber when arriving at a momentary equilibrium of being. Ochre in the undertow, the most specific shade of seeing clearly through the turbulence that love's departure manufactures. The ochre undertow, most honest of the raptures. Color me precisely in the shade of what has happened. Let the undertow be chartered, let the sorrow be enchanted into the pigment that becomes the ochre of a life that loved extravagantly and sustained the commensurate strife. Ochre undertow, yellow, brown, or grief. The current holds you longer than you need, then grants relief. Ochre undertow, pull me through the sediment of everything I loved and lost. It was all magnificent. The only honest color the current releases. Architecture of the ordinary, through the awaken. Memory of every life that occupied this grid. Every street is a medium for everything it is. I'd rather sands run through avenue of residue, past buildings that were tenements that sheltered people residual, to a history that persists in cornices and shadows, in the grammar of the alleyways, in forgotten meadows of a city before concrete. I can feel it underneath. The violin remembers everything the asphalt chose to sheet. Navigated this without navigation apps, by a landmark, by the smell of rain, by memories relapse into the body of the city as a living sense terrain. And I'm trying to recover that transmission through the rain, infrared and ultraviolet and every spectrum in between. The seance is the drive itself, the spirit share the scene. The steering wheel beneath my head is a divining rod. Every red light is a threshold, every green light is a knock for the city to continue through the membrane of the known, into the seance country where you travel solo, never alone. Seance drive, spirits in the lane. Every city has its memory, it moves through us like veins. Seance drive, violin and rain. I'm channel, I'm medium, I'm driving through the pain. Oh, I parked outside the house that wasn't there anymore, and played the violin through the window to the floor, where the kitchen once existed in the photograph my mother kept. And something in the frequency returned from where it slept. Not a ghost or resonance, a frequency still held by the matter that was present when the lives in the house were felt. The seance doesn't summon, it receives what never left. The city is a body, and the streets are all its bread. I am just a driver with my instrument and it, channeling the frequency of everyone there. Seance drive, spirits in the lanes. Every city has its memory, it moves through us like veins. Seance drive, violin and rain. I'm channel, I'm medium, I'm driving through the pain. Still receiving, still driving. Say, oh, The corner store at midnight is a kind of church for those of us who keep the late religion of convenience and the fuss of ordinary errands, sanctified by the hour of it. The fluorescent benediction of the power of it. Compton corner store, midnight, grape soda and theology. The checkout clerk's a philosopher with quiet chronology. Been witnessing his parish for 11 years of graveyard shift. Seen saints and sinners browse the same aisle for the same uplift. The corner store is democratic in this fluorescent illumination. Don't care about your zip code, just your denomination. No hunger, cash, or card. The psalm is written on the receipt. The corner store is some all the faithful eventually to eat. I come here when the apartment walls start reading like a sentence, unfinished and recursive and demanding my repentance. For something I can't name, the corner store resets the syntax. The fluorescent hum retunes my nervous system to its matrix. I buy a thing I don't need just to have the transaction. To prove ordinary tact, the basic human traction of exchanging currency for comfort, verb for noun. The corner store psalm at midnight, holy is part of town. From the Funyuns to the flaming house, the altar is extensive. The communion is whatever eases what's expensive to carry past the closing hour of the expected day. Corner store psalm, saving grace in the fluorescent way. Corner store psalm, fluorescent and true. Everybody wondering in here needed something they could construe. Corner store psalm, receipt of scripture. The holiest hour is the midnight liturgy picture. I saw a woman reading Octavia Butler by the chips, and a man conducting the whole symphony with his fingertips on the cooler glass, just listening to the hum like the refrigerator frequency was speaking kingdom come. Nobody judges in the corner store at midnight, that's the covenant. The whole congregation hearing somebody's dissonant, and beautiful and tired, hungry and exactly right. The corner store psalm is the people, not the light. The fluorescent light is unflattering and honest and precise. It shows you everything and that's for nothing. That's the sacrifice, that's the sacrifice, hey. That the corner store makes nightly for the ones who find their way into its harsh illumination when the darkness wants to stay, hey. Fluorescent and true, everybody wandering in here needed something they couldn't screw. Corner store song, receipt of scripture. The holiest hour is the midnight liturgy picture. Hey. Stay as long as you need to. The clerk will let you browse. Song still playing.
They don't require witnesses, just the two of you and the moment and its tenderness. We made a vow at the kitchen window, watching steam rise from the kettle, toward the glass and dissipate like a dream. Nothing ceremonial, no official, no ring, just the recognition of something deepening. The vapor vow, I choose you in the ordinary, in the Tuesday and the overcast and the ordinary weight of being alive with someone. I commit to that weight, vapor and vow. I stated it before I knew how to articulate. The grand gestures are the easiest to navigate. I can deliver moonlight. It's the Tuesday I must excavate. The patience for the unglamorous persistence of devotion. The vapor of the daily and the vow beneath the motion of ordinary life continuing beyond the ceremony. When love is not a feeling but a verb and testimony. Not the vow they witnessed, the vow that no one heard. Made between the steam and glass without a single word. The covenant of presence in the unromantic hour. Vapor and vow, the quiet is the power. Vapor and vow, evaporate then stay. Some of what we promised disappears into the day, and what remains is realer than the ceremony allowed. Vapor and vow, I love you soft and loud. I renegotiate the covenant each time I choose to stay. When leaving would be simpler and forgetting would be sane. The vapor vow is daily, it's renewed in the mundane. In the reaching for your hand without occasion or refrain. In the silence that we've learned to occupy without invasion. In the sacred, unremarkable terrain of our occasion. Vapor is not fragile, vapor is the state of what transcends the solid and the liquid. What the boundary comprehends. The vow that lives in vapor is the most enduring kind. Unwritten and unwitnessed, only held inside the mind. Vapor and vow, evaporate then stay. Some of what we promised disappears into the day, and what remains is realer than the ceremony allowed. Vapor and vow, I love you soft and I choose you again today and tomorrow and in every vapor hour.
conversation into the blue geography of pure sensation. Sunday afternoon and the obligations have relocated to some other dimension. We are liberated into the slow republic of doing absolutely less. The radical theology of giving ourselves rest. Meridian drift, the crossing from the urgent to the ambient, from the scheduled and the structured to the openly magnificent. Clock out of the performance of the productive and the legible into the unmarked territory, illegible hours, the ones that don't belong in anyone's agenda. I've been chasing this meridian like contraband, surrender of everything I owe to every system that demands my time. Meridian drift is the most revolutionary param I know, to simply flow past the coordinates of output into the bluest waters of the undiscovery route. Let the latitude decide where we're drifting. Let the altitude of comfort be the gifting of the nothing in particular to the self that earned it. Meridian drift, the destination is the circuit. Meridian drift, past the edge of responsibility into the warm ambiguity of pure possibility. Meridian drift, no coordinates required. The only obligation is to finally feel inspired. 3 hours dissolve like sugar in the warm geography of just existing. I forgot the cartography of my to-do list and my timeline and my calendar alarm. The meridian drift administered its own specific charm. I rediscovered the cadence of my stroke respiration, the way the body breathes when it's released from every station of production. Pure meridian, pure drift. This is what the chill is, the most necessary gift. On the other side of meridian, a person you remember is the one who didn't need permission in November or in any month, just took the afternoon and owned it. Meridian drift, the most accomplished time you've ever spent. Meridian drift, past the edge of responsibility into the warm ambiguity of pure possibility. Meridian drift, no coordinates required. The only obligation is to finally feel inspired. Still drifting, don't chart this. Let the meridian be.
Ultraviolet, the frequency beyond the visible. Where the feeling lives, that's too specific to be syllable. I conduct my grief in frequencies that instruments don't register. The ultraviolet sounds, I'm the only witness here. Summoning the parts of me I let the daylight keep. The tender and the terrified who only come in the deep sub-basement of the self, where the ultraviolet reigns, where everything suppressed illuminates in ultraviolet. seance of the self requires no candle and no circle, only the willingness to sit inside the ultraviolet purple of the feelings past the rainbow's visible perimeter, to visit what the ordinary spectrum can't deliver here. I have been conducting seances in A flat minor since the summer that the ultraviolet became a liner. No to every shadow that I've been refusing to acknowledge. Seance gave him language, gave the ultraviolet knowledge. Seance isn't haunting, it's the opposite of haunting. It's the willingness to meet the ghost you've been confronting in the peripheral, the ultraviolet, the belly there. The seance of the self is the most intimate repair. Ultraviolet seance, frequency beyond where the visible surrenders to the depth behind the bond of ordinary feeling, past the spectrum to the raw. Ultraviolet says, I have finally seen it all. From the sands with the data of the invisible, the feelings that resist description, the specifically divisible, emotions that exist between the named ones and the seams of the emotional vocabulary in the ultraviolet dreams of conscious age expanded past this comfortable frontier. The seance gave me fluency in what I refused to hear. Beyond the violet, beyond the frequency of sorrow, name leaves the ultraviolet emotion that can't be claimed by any word, any language. Only by the seance, only by the willingness to sit inside its radiance. Ultraviolet seance, frequency beyond where the visible surrenders to the depth behind the bond of ordinary feeling, past the spectrum to the raw. Ultraviolet says that I have finally seen it all. Ultraviolet says, ultraviolet says, ultraviolet, still conducting, still in session. Ultraviolet.
Oxblood, reverie, the daydream of the deeply wounded. Rich and dark, not elegant, the color of the truth unguarded. I don't do my grieving in the pale and proper colors. Pastel recuperation for the wellness industry's customers. My grief is oxblood, saturated, unapologetic. The pigment of the deep interior, specific and prophetic, of the person I became inside the womb before the healing. The oxblood reverie, the honest dark of feeling. I've been daydreaming in shades of oxblood since the winter, When the structure of everything I counted on went splinter by splinter, patient, methodical, inevitable, and the grief that followed wore a color undeniable. Now black is clean, is definitive, is finished. Ox blood is the in-between, the wound that's never diminished. To invisibility it stays, it colors, it informs. The ox blood reverie is how the deepest person forms. Don't tell me silver lining, let me have the ox blood. The complex and the saturated, not the easy flood of optimism applied before the grief is finished teaching. Ox blood reverie is precisely what I'm reaching. Ox blood reverie, rich and dark in mind, the color of the deepest grief that ever crossed the line into the person I became when I survived what came. Ox blood reverie, I am proud I wore that stained on. They want the narrative of recovery, the arc that turned the light, the way the ox blood faded into something clean and bright. But what if the ox blood stays? What if the stain is structural? What if the wound that colored me became the most instructional experience of my formation? Not the wound to transcend, but the pigment that I carry to wherever I attend. Ox blood is not failure. Ox blood is the evidence of death, the color of a life that loved beyond its comfortable breath. Daydreaming in ox blood is the most specific kind of knowing. The reverie is showing you which way the deepest part is going. Ox blood reverie, rich and dark in mind, the color of the deepest grief that ever crossed the line into the person I became when I survived what came. Ox blood reverie, I am proud I wore that stain. And ox blood, still dreaming in it, still mine.
I've been navigating nighttime with a burning overhead. Send a halo, made of everything I should've left instead of carrying the residue of every fire I set. And the light it casts illuminates what I prefer to forget. But the cinder halo's honest in its ugly specific glow shows me and everybody else exactly what I know. The crown, the capital of contradiction. I move through the corridors of night with the friction of ambition and its consequences. Equal weight. The halo and the cinder are inseparable. Too late to ask which one precedes the other. They were born together. The burning every crown of every kind of midnight weather. I'm the gold and the ash simultaneously. The compound of the best and worst decisions in my background. Cinder halo, everybody sees it burn. No amount of reputation, man, is burning to extinguish what the fire left. Illuminating, cinder halo, sainted and incinerating. Cinder halo, burning at the crown. Can't decide if it's elevation or the ground. light above the storm. The city witnesses my cinder halo on the CCTV. Each street I move through gets a frame of the residue of me. Burning at the edges of my best potential. Always almost the fullest version of myself except the cinder makes me coast. Past the threshold of the comfortable into the incendiary. Cinder halo simultaneous penitentiary cathedral. I've been locked inside and worshipped in the same space. The halo is the evidence. The cinder is the grace. Saints are painted golden for the cleanliness of symbol. But the ones who burning kept going, defy the simple. Iconography of virtue, without scorch marks, without soup. Send the halo golden ash, that's where the truth put. It's held to live permanently in the compound of the two. Send the halo on my head, out where it's seeing you. Send the halo burning at the crown. Can't decide if it's elevation or the ground. Send the halo, ash and Oreo. Even the mistake became the light above the soul. Still burning, still ascending. The cinder is a crown.
phosphine light is everything the ordinary prayer cannot pass. The saints were painted golden by the painters who imagined that the halo was external, that the radiance was rationed by some distant allocated deity of light. The phosphine gospel says the halo was inside, always inside tonight. Phosphine gospel starlights from within. The universe you carry underneath your skin. Phosphine gospel, close your eyes and see. Every cosmos that they mapped was always you, was always me. Close your eyes. Press gently. There. Your private constellation.
Your requiem for the parts of me I didn't know I was buried in. You were the pallbearer, I was the one who kept carrying. We conducted our collapse in high resolution color. Every argument a brush stroke that made the canvas duller. Till the masterpiece we painted went entirely black, and we called it abstract art and hung it where we'd never look back. The neon signs outside still promise hoping, but the only thing wide open now is everything we spoke. Keep your voicemails half-wrapped in a folder labeled evidence. Evidence of who I was when you were the residence of my most honest hours. When I lived without the armor, now the armor is the person, and the person is the coroner of a love I let expire while I diagnosed its symptoms. Loved you like a researcher was terrified of systems. Ring the bell to requiem and started. Lay the flowers where the version of us parted. More the rituals, the cadence of our mornings. Neon requiem for the love we held without a warning. Neon requiem, lights that never sleep, illuminating everything I promised I would keep. Neon requiem, bright for the departed. Every color bleeds the same when you're broken hearted.
went to the locations where we claimed our moments. Every corner held a version of us still in our components. Before the entropy accelerated, before the static, when love was loud and analog and nothing was arithmetic. I took a photograph of emptiness and called it documentation of the beautiful specific grief that follows every liberation. But requiem is not a funeral, it is a recognition that the thing we love was real enough to warrant the tradition of grief that's formalized, this luminous, this neon bright. A love worth more than falling me is a love that burns.
Lights that never sleep, illuminating everything I promised I would keep. Neon requiem, bright for the departed. Every color bleeds the same when you're broken hearted.
Even the dark deserves this ceremony. Requiem eternal.
You ever ask the dark a question and the dark just stared? The oracle was hollow, there was nobody there. I built a shrine of photographs and undelivered text. Pray to the version of myself that hasn't broken yet. The pendulum inside my chest keeps counting down to null. The cosmos isn't indifferent, it's just spectacularly full of other people suffering, arranged in constellation bright, while I rehearse my ruin in the corridor of night. Every prophet I consulted handed back my fear, dressed in different garments, still the same frontier. I tattooed coordinates of places I'd never reach, believing that the sacred live where living couldn't breach. The altar crumbled slowly in the humidity of doubt, and I stood in the rubble, grateful it was finally out. There is no prophecy, there is no chosen hour, only breath and consequence, and the fragile human power to remain inside the wound and let it teach you how. The oracle was always and only this right now.
Hello, oracle.
I was asking you to save me.
Hello, oracle.
You reflected back to maybe.
Hello, oracle.
The chamber was my own, every answer that I needed I was speaking to the bone. I dismantled my mythology piece by shattered piece. Found nothing supernatural, only grief that sought release. The cathedral of my certainty had rotted at the nave, and the silence left behind was not a punishment, a wave carrying me somewhere undivin, unmapped, unlit, toward the self I've been avoiding, ordinary, infinite. Hollow is not empty, hollow is the shape of what was held, a vessel for the trembling voice of everything expelled. You were never guiding me, you were echoing my call. Hollow oracle, the most sacred oracle of all. I was asking you to save me. You reflected back to maybe. The chamber was my own, every answer that I needed I was speaking to the bone. Hollow is the home. Hollow is the home. I already knew.
ritual, the ceremony you can see through. Transparent liturgy of all the things that lead you. The ritual is visible, we don't obscure the method. Saxophone and incense and the slow deliberate breath, and every gesture amplified through the glass of being witnessed. In your ceremony, no performance, just the fitness of the practice for the practitioner. The ritual for its own sake. Glass, we don't hide what the devotion tends to make. Ritual of the late night congregation, where the smoke is incense and the playlist is the invocation. I've been studying the ceremony of the truly present ones who show up to their rituals, not to anyone but themselves and sons of their own particular calendar. Whatever lights the practice, glass ritual, the authenticity is the traction that keeps the ceremony honest past the performance impulse. The glass is the accountability, the ritual the pole. Ritual without performance, pure the practice. Everything transparent, glass is the axis around which the ceremony finds its center. Glass ritual, the only way to end up. Glass ritual, see through what you're doing. Every honest ceremony is its own renewing. Glass ritual, transparent to the core. The practice isn't for an audience, it's for the self you're for. I dismantled every ritual that required an audience approval. Rebuilt from glass, from what withstands the removal of observation. The practice that remains when no one's watching. The saxophone at 2 a.m., the journal, the unlocking of the parts of self that only the transparent ceremony reaches. Glass ritual, the most advanced of what the practice teaches, is that you are both the priest and the congregation, both the ceremony and the whole entire nation. Sax through glass, the ritual is audible and visible. The practice of the honest is inevitably kissable by the attention of whoever needs to witness something real. Glass ritual, the transparency is all you need. A flash ritual, see through what you're doing. Every honest ceremony is its own renewing. Glass ritual, transparent to the core. The practice isn't for an audience, it's for the self-before. Speaks itself.